All right. Hello and welcome to Patch Notes, your monthly updates on the gaming news you need to know about. This is our monthly episode, which is basically we talk about all the news that happened this month, but with people to give their insights and knowledge on the video games industry to help you understand what's going on a little bit better. Joining me today is we've got that Mario Rivera down there somewhere at the bottom. How you doing, Mario?
I'm doing okay, doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Thanks for joining. We got Kumail H from the Poker Ramble podcast.
Gotta patch them all, patch it.
Oh no.
I've
And
had
we
that saved for like 20 minutes.
And we've got the toilet assassin get flushed Rahula Hoop.
What is up,
Rahul Hoop.
everyone? How you doing? Thanks for having me, Caesar.
No
Pleasure to
problem.
be
Thanks
here.
for jumping on. We got a big month of news. It's so
Oh yeah.
for being the smallest month of the year, a lot of shit happened this month. And
Is
let's
that why
go.
it feels so big though?
Huh?
Is that why it feels so big though? Because it's like a shorter month.
Here's the thing: they crammed a lot of shit this last week. So
Fair.
Last week specifically, yeah.
yeah, this last week specifically, they crammed a lot of stuff into it. So let's just get started from the very beginning with one of the biggest news that possibly could have happened. Stadia closed its internal studios, basically affecting 150 jobs and no first-party games for Stadia. And they're promising 150 third-party games. Is that correct? This year. So basically, I want to throw this over to Rahul. Do you think that 150 third-party games is enough for people that are invested in this platform? Like, do you think that's enough? Like,
I mean,
they
here's the
invested in
thing,
this for
right?
first-party Stadia stuff, and they're not getting it.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, like the way that I feel things are going with the subscription platforms and like the cloud platforms and all that stuff, like content is king, right? That is a
Mhm.
saying in like all media industries, like content is king. And when you've got PlayStation with all their first party studios and you got Xbox with their like massive portfolio of first party studios, like that's the stuff that will draw people to your platform.
Yeah.
It's like why do I want this particular service? Like what
Yeah.
can I get here that I can't get elsewhere? And initially at least it comes down to those first party games. Because okay, yeah, like Xbox has loads of bells and whistles, and maybe you're more invested in another ecosystem. But when you're a new service, you really have to come out swinging to pull that market share away from the established ones. And I think it's gonna be strange. I don't think the third party stuff's gonna be enough because the platform itself still has issues as well. You know, like
Mhm.
latency and data caps, and I don't know. It's gonna be tough for them to continue without those big that you know that big those big content drops that are like drawing people in. So I think they're gonna struggle a bit. But it's interesting because they said they're also going to shift their focus onto the platform itself. So maybe they're going to spend more resources making the platform great, and then maybe it gets integrated into another more established. You know, maybe like PlayStation's cloud service stuff isn't working as well. Maybe they partner with Google and like
Mhm.
PlayStation Now powered by Stadia or something crazy like that. Like I don't know
Yeah.
what we could see out of this, but yeah, on the content front, Google as a standalone, I think they're gonna struggle on that side.
So Mario, I know you're a PlayStation guy.
Yeah.
You're kind of trying to get into Xbox. You're still looking for a Series X, by my understanding.
So
Uh,
I play all the consoles. I just couldn't find
yeah,
an X because it's hard
yeah.
right now.
But you're more
And
PlayStation.
semiconductors.
You're more
Yeah, for the most part, yes. Yeah. This generation. I have more
and
PlayStation.
but have you invested into Stadia in any way?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I invested in all the cloud platforms. I tested them out before some of them have even come out.
Mhm.
Stadia, I still think is actually a solid thing that works really well in terms of being able to do to playing. Specifically, I took part of a couple of their deals that they had where you got a free Chromecast or a free controller, and you just can play it on your television, and it works really well. I just think that a lot of the promises that when Stadia was first sort of like being announced, being shown to everybody, like the fact that like, oh, I can go from my phone and then put it down and immediately come to my television, and then you know what, immediately just jump on my laptop and it's just all going to seamlessly work. There's still some growing pains for those specific things. And what I also think that we really need to keep focusing on is the way that they promise the integration of its tools into everything else that they have
Yep.
connected to Google. I remember being wowed by the fact that like if I was watching a trailer for NBA or Grand Theft Auto or anything that's coming out even for the future, there will be a Stadia button that will either take me to try a demo or hit me to pre-order it. Or if I'm watching, let's just say one of our podcasts, right? We're listening to one of our podcasts and we mention Assassin's Creed. Well, then something should be able to pop up, or we can set it to pop up, and then you could just buy it. And then maybe there's like an affiliate link thing. Like,
Or the live streaming on YouTube too. There's supposed to be
yes,
like a live streaming thing where like somebody's playing on a stream and you can jump into their game.
exactly. All of those services that they brought up so early on, they're just not there for the most
Mhm.
part. And I think that is probably the bigger fall than having games. Having games is important. I think every platform like PlayStation, Xbox, Stadia, Switch, having games is important. But at the end of the day, I just thinking having your product and uh, basically making sure that the promises you've made before for the product happens. I know they've been steady about it, and it's like incremental. Like they've like added achievements not that long ago, but I think that's the key thing. They could not have a game, a set game that comes to it, but as long as you have other games that everyone wants to play, like a Cyberpunk at the time,
Yeah.
Avengers, all the games that everyone else is playing, but you have it on your platform, and for some reason your platform is the one that plays it the best. Then yeah, it just would be so greatly integrated, and that's why we would think of it more as a like competitor with everything else. But as of right now, we still constantly think of it's behind. Xbox has done such a great well to bring up their groundswell for xCloud. So yeah, I just think that that's where
So
the area they need to fix.
so you're saying like for them content is important, but not content as in first party games. The content that they promised as in like
The service,
their ability the service abilities. Yeah, the service
yeah,
abilities. That's their
yeah,
content that they need to work on.
that's to
Do
me
you
is what your focus should be. And then yeah, games obviously should have been like ingesting in the background, like we should
Mhm.
probably be getting them. But yeah, to hear the fact that they cut the cord like 2 years in,
Yeah.
it does suck because games take time. I heard a game at EA just got just I was gonna say destroyed, got put got canceled after 6 years of development. So yeah, these games take time, and it's just like you have to
Yeah,
put in the resources, especially if you're the one of the biggest companies in the world, Google.
it's kind of upsetting when you read like their press release. It's like, yeah, games are expensive and take a lot of time to make. It's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, yeah, they
Yeah.
do. Uh, so I don't know if you've invested into Stadia, Camille, but is there anything
Nah.
Stadia could do that could get somebody like you that hasn't invested into Stadia to try it out? Is there
I think
anything they could do to you?
Rahul was spot on with it. Like content is king, and I know a close friend of mine. He invested into Stadia very early on. Like the premise of it is really cool, but like in terms of like third party games, I've got them on Switch, I've got them on PlayStation, I've got them on PC. Like from Stadia, like as cool as like the integration tools would have been to like being able to jump into like a streamer's game and whatnot, that wouldn't necessarily like attract me to like pay for another subscription service, especially when you got
Mhm.
something like
Well, from my
Game Pass
understanding,
there and like xCloud coming, at some point in the future. So
Yeah,
from my understanding, the subscription service is for 4K abilities. Like you have to
Mhm.
buy the game on Stadia. You don't
yeah.
have a subscription
Mhm.
service for the game.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
They have a games
Yeah.
for gold, PlayStation Plus, like you get
yeah.
free games
Mm.
when you
Yeah.
have the subscription. But if you don't and you want to buy like I bought like what is it? Ghost Recon Breakpoint or whatever.
Borderlands?
Just
Mm.
Oh.
yes. Because they had that feature specifically to Stadia where it's like if you're playing with your buddies, you can
Mhm.
see each other's cameras and you can see so I can make sure
I
like I
remember
can
that.
coordinate and stuff like that. So that's why I bought it with my actual money. And yeah, I have it, but I'm not playing it because it's
The
not.
other thing is like with the Google Stadia like directs or whatever you want to call them,
Oh
everyone's got a
yeah,
direct these days. Like they're bringing out third party games that came out like 2-3 years ago, and you're thinking like I've played this already.
Yeah.
Why do I
Which
want
is
to play
funny that
it
you
now?
say that because Nintendo will do directs with games that came out like 20 years ago, and people are like, "Yes, that Star Wars game is coming! Like, that Star Wars game from the PS1
But
is coming
I
to
get
Switch."
like a game from like 20 years ago compared to a
Yeah.
game like that came out 3 years ago is a huge difference, isn't there? Like, but I
I
think
I
the
just think
final
they need
point
a
is like,
balance. Yeah, they
yeah,
need a
No,
balance.
yeah. No, yeah, you're
I
right.
think the final point I wanted to make is like they brought in some like big names. Like I think Jade Raymond was like one of the ones I think I remember from
Mhm.
like Ubisoft and EA, and like you're thinking, oh shit, like they've got her. Like what's she gonna create? And the fact that you're not gonna get anything from them now, like
She
I really
left.
don't.
No.
I couldn't care less about Google Stadia if I'm
Yeah,
being honest with you.
I feel bad for
Um,
Jade Raymond because it's two major projects that could have had potential of something and nothing
So
completely.
they
lost.
Google
said
just need to learn to commit to things, you know. Like I think
yeah.
Google Plus is
Yeah,
another thing where
Google has a rep for that.
yeah, exactly. And when you see like what Xbox is doing, you're thinking, okay, I'm more confident with Xbox because they look like they're making all the right moves and they're dedicated to making this their thing. Even if it's
So
going to cost them money in the short term, they're committed to doing it.
they did say that any games that would come out past this year is not releasing, which means that there's a chance that something might come out from Stadia this year.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
There's a slight chance that something might come out this year from Stadia. So is it? I think this would be a smaller experience. What do you guys think it would be? Like a smaller like multiplayer thing? I don't. I
It
don't
might be
see
a
them.
smaller
I mean,
experience.
how many like small multiplayer things do we need now? We've got Destruction.
Yeah.
But it might be like
and we
it might
got
be like a
the
tech
dodgeball
demo.
game, and
It might be like a tech demo for Stadia, is what I'm thinking.
Did
Like
they
the Astros Playroom for Stadia. They haven't said anything about it, as far as I know.
Okay. The only game that right now that I can remember that is exclusive to the system is a game called Guilt, which is basically Resident
yeah.
Evil for babies.
Yeah, I
And
remember
it's
seeing that.
actually pretty fun. If you actually wanted to play it, it's actually pretty solid. It's one of the first games they give you for free. So it's one of their exclusives that they've on their platform. But at the same time, yeah, I think that when it comes to the balance up between the games, I think a healthy amount of some old stuff because you got to fill that platform out, but also some new stuff. But I mean, their plus giving away has been pretty incredible, and I just think that nobody even cares. Like for instance, this month they were giving away Little Nightmares 2, which is a brand new game.
Yeah,
where's the marketing on that though?
Exactly.
Like,
it's
We're
dead.
all-
Like
quite big
That's
in
what
the
I'm
indie gaming news, but
you know where the
You know?
marketing is? Google Plus.
And
That's
then
where that's where all the marketing is.
Half-Life 3. I'm sorry, not Half-Life. Hitman 3.
Half-Life
Half-Life 3.
3.
Bro, what do you know,
Nobody
dude?
cares.
What do you
Mario
know?
with the scoop. Mario with the
3.
scoops in here.
Hitman 3, for that month, they gave away Hitman 1 and 2. So you could have all the content ready to go on Stadia. So it's like nobody knows because nobody cares.
I was gonna say as
Basically
well,
what we're
Guild sounds
getting.
like what the Google CEOs should probably have right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they probably do. I remember when the Google CEO came out on the Stadia like debut, he was like, "I don't play games, but but
Oh
people do."
no!
It's
Oh
very
no!
Caesar, I've heard that before, and they bought a website.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
But yeah,
Too soon.
good old three-letter companies. Am I right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so basically, what we're trying to get at is, you guys would think Stadia needs to get better about content, their service, and marketing. Is that what we're getting at?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
think
guys-
absolutely with Rahul, like get games out as soon as possible, and like Mario said, get your shit running in terms of like functionality, because like you need to differentiate yourself from like PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox, and you've got to do that quickly before they catch up to you. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
With both.
I mean, honestly, I think if they're not going to focus on content, then what they could do is integrate that stuff into other platforms somehow. So if you're playing stuff on Xbox and
Okay.
you have the little pop-ups coming up on your YouTube, because YouTube is Google, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. I always get confused between Facebook and like what Facebook owns and what Google owns. But yeah, so imagine like Xbox put up a trailer on YouTube, and then Stadia like integrates all the stuff for like the links popping up and all that kind of stuff. Maybe that's what they mean by they're going to focus more on the service than the actual content, because they might think it's just not profitable from a content point of view, but they can really help on the tools like platform technology side. So I don't know, maybe that's what could happen. Who knows?
It's hard for them to like collaborate with Xbox, because Xbox has said that they don't view PlayStation as a competitor. They view Google as a competitor. And
Yeah, that's
now
true.
they have a third competitor being Amazon, which I don't hear anybody talk about Luna.
It's still
Nah,
kind of
me neither.
like under wraps for the most
Yeah.
part. 'Cause it's not to be like,
Yeah.
Like,
invited in.
I've heard
Like
that the people that played it like it ish, but
it's an interesting idea. It's kind of like
yeah.
subscription service based on channels. So like you can have Ubisoft. Like if you like Ubisoft, you have the Ubisoft channels, and then yeah, you can go and play all your Ubisoft games. I've tested out just a little bit, and it works well. It works in the browser, so it's
I made a
interesting.
joke. I made a joke when they announced it. It's like, oh, I can't wait for the Konami channel to just be pachinko machines.
100%. 100%. I can see that actually happening.
You're gonna have to turn down your volume from that fucking channel. I'll tell you. What.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, but as I rank for all of them, like right now, xCloud is still up top. I think they've done such a great, well, integrating it into their services and everything works. Obviously, they had the snafu with iOS, but we'll get that figured
Yeah.
out. Stadia is still underneath it. It's still really good for what it does. It's just that it doesn't have any market share in terms of ideas in
Doesn't
people's minds.
Nvidia have one?
Nvidia has one
Yeah.
too, but it's not as
GeForce Now, right?
GeForce Now, which I've used, and that's how I played Hitman. That to me is my third one, and the only reason why it's third is because you have to have a subscription to play for unlimited amount of time. Otherwise, you
Mhm.
get 1 hour a day to play.
But
Uh,
Stadia, you have to buy the game, or you get the
Sta-
game through the subscription.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
understandable, but at the same time, though, it's like
But you
it's
play it for as much as you want, which is
yeah,
the
it's your game. You know,
yeah.
with Nvidia now, it actually integrates with your Steam account and your Ubisoft
Mhm.
account and your
Mhm.
Epic account, and basically pulls all your purchases, and then that's how you play.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really cool. Everyone should really try it out. It's actually really cool. I think
But the only downside is the subscription.
it's a subscription. It does cost money. I mean, it's like $7, I think, but it's just
A month? Mm,
yeah, a month,
okay.
and that's really it. There's no other major features.
So yeah. But like
Yeah.
Xbox has a head up because they obviously started off ages ago, but the streaming service is new and they're kind of diverting from the box to the streaming service. Is
What
Xbox gonna
xCloud? What do you mean?
xCloud? Yeah. I feel like I feel like they're just moving away from like generations of like the Xbox and they're just
Yeah,
trying to be like, "Oh, this is just X." Like this is just like this is what we're doing. Like
it
we're like X gonna give it to you no matter how you want it. Like that's
100%.
so do you
Uh,
think Xbox is gonna find success from not doing generations anymore and just having a service?
I think they're still gonna have to have hardware iterations, but they're not gonna refer to them as
Okay.
generations. It would be like iPhone, right? I think it's gonna be similar to
Mm.
that, where every several years or so, they're gonna have like, well, this also has this, but every game works. Like I think every game,
Mhm.
the beauty of Xbox right now is everything works, even like original Xbox games. Now,
Yeah.
including you can put the disc in your system. That is something that I think PlayStation and Nintendo, well, you'll never get, should be able to figure
There's
something out.
too many different
Oh,
like
that's what I'm saying.
shit.
You'll never get that. It's
Yeah, you'll never get
impossible at
that.
this point, unless they
If
have
you
like
do
a
the
special attachment. You just
that
pop it
console will be
into it.
ugly if they ever did that. That'll be a disgusting
Man,
looking console if
I
they
It's
ever did
can't
that.
wait
another.
for the PlayStation 6 to have like a little button where a little cassette deck pops up where you can put
Yeah,
a UMD into it. Finally, you
100%,
can
man.
play Crisis Core again.
Where's the PlayStation 64?
The,
Remember that?
all those games just need to be digital, and
Uh,
then you're fine.
yeah. All right. Any
Yeah,
closing thoughts on Stadia? We have.
try it. It's decent.
Mhm.
Yeah, if you get a free
Uh-huh.
trial, definitely check it out. And I mean, I think it's an interesting platform, and there's definitely people out there who do like who are sort of spreading the gospel and saying it's actually a really good platform once you start using it.
Mhm.
There's a really good podcast called Speaking of Stadia, um,
Stadia.
um, which I listened to a couple episodes and I was like, you know what, some of the things sound really neat on this thing. It's just kind of a shame, yeah, like no one really talks about it. So maybe it's a marketing thing, but yeah, definitely, yeah, it's worth looking into.
Yeah, you get a free trial. Go for it. 1 month, and you can redeem all your games. You play Destiny on it. It's gonna have cross progression and cross play soon, so that's awesome.
My only thought is hang in there, Jared Petty. You'll
Jared.
get there.
Oh, I forgot about that. I feel so bad for him.
I
But
just
yeah.
listened to the comedy button. He's just hanging out in Montana, so he's okay.
Man. But clearly Google really wanted people to like leave their physical consoles at home and just try to go digital. But speaking of going digital, transition. E3 is going digital this year. Obviously, last year E3 didn't have an event because of the COVID pandemic. They were trying to figure out a virtual event. They didn't do it last year, but they figured it out this year? Question mark? Quotation.
You
Like,
got enough time, right?
yeah, they have months to figure it out. So from June 15th through the 17th is when they're gonna have their media events. The week before, they're gonna have their press event. And throughout this whole time, they're gonna have demos on consoles. And obviously they need support from their partner companies. And
Mhm.
so far, one company has confirmed that they are not going to be a part of it. They'd rather host their own event than pay the six-figure entry fee.
Yeah.
So I ask you guys, is there any way the ESA can bring E3 back and get good trust from the community and media? Because if you remember in 2019, that's when the leak happened. and
Yeah.
everybody's information was out there. Everybody in the video games industry's information was out there.
Yeah,
So
my friends and
could
everything.
E3 make a comeback
I
in
mean,
any way?
there's always a possibility he may come back. Sure. I mean, I
Yeah.
think
But will
this
it
year it
work?
might be a struggle. It might be a struggle, obviously, because you're not going to have the consumers there, physically. And I think that's pretty important to have like people on the ground. In
Yeah.
terms of companies signing up to E3 and being there, um, who's to say? I mean, like over the last year, we had so many different events that went on. You had like Play Anime Live, which was I think Bandai's thing. You had like the PC Gaming Show, which has been about for quite some time. You've had like the Guerrilla Games Collective,
Which was the Kind
EA,
of Funny Games
yeah,
event.
yeah,
Yeah.
EA Play, all that kind of stuff, and like depending on how that sort of played out last year, and how well they did, they might just think, well, what's the point of paying money for another digital event?
Yeah.
Physically, it might be different, but digitally, I don't know. I can't see many companies signing up to E3. That's my
And the
opinion, anyway.
and the other thing I just want to add to that is like also like Jeff Keighley has left the sort of E3 project
Yeah.
side and is doing his whole summer of gaming thing.
He's still doing his Summer
And
Games Fest this year. Yep.
yeah, and it's just like the publishers only have like a set amount of stuff to show. They're not going to spread themselves thin. Like,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to do one announcement with Games Fest, one with E3, and then a couple for our own event. They're either going to do their own event or they're just going to stick with like, one thing.
One of them.
I don't think they're going to spread themselves too thin. So like, it's going to be really interesting to see who actually partners with ESA to like bring stuff to the E3 like media events. Like, what are they going to show?
Mhm.
And is it going to be worth it? Especially considering that if you have to pay a six-figure entry fee, like why would you do that? I mean, obviously I don't know what it costs to be part of Summer Games Fest, but then if you're holding your own event, it costs nothing. You just whatever the
You
cost
just
of
stream
holding
it.
the event
Like,
is. Yeah,
j-
like whatever production cost to put the stream together,
Mhm.
that's what it costs. Like no arbitrary six-figure entry fee. So I don't know. I think it's because now, as Camille said, so many different events now. Like E3 is gonna be scrambling to try and get back that dominance as like the one summer show that everyone needs to have eyes on. So it's
At
gonna be
least
tough.
digitally, yeah. At least
Yeah.
digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of the companies like EA obviously got it figured out after, they were one of the first ones that left. And then even this year we had Ubisoft Forward, PlayStation State of Play, Xbox showcases. I think a lot of the major companies that we all know and love are covered. I do think that there's probably going to be a lot of support in Japan though that might, because they probably don't have a lot of resources that they could bring out this way, or and internally make videos. So I'm curious of how they might
trying to
handle
reach
it.
the Western market.
Yeah, so I'm curious.
Like, this is their one outlet.
Yeah, I'm curious if like first like Square Enix games might be there, or if From Software or anything else that ends up being there. But in terms of the big ones, I think everyone's just gonna be focusing on it. How many of us have been to E3 here?
I haven't.
Have?
And
Okay, cool.
I've been.
Yeah, I love it in terms of the times that I've got to go.
Yeah.
It's very cool and nostalgic, but at the same time, it's very cumbersome and bloated and filled with people.
Which is
Yeah.
why I think it's so weird that people make a big deal about this event, because it used to be just a media event. It used to just be like the media outlets would go to E3 for like previews of what's coming.
I mean, depends what they're making a big deal
Yeah.
about. I mean, I love
Yeah.
E3 every year because it's a time where I get to sit down in the evening, watch a lot of like games, and get to react to it like with my friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes going over to a friend's house, ordering a pizza, and seeing all the cool new games coming out. I mean, in that sense, it's a big deal to me. But I can totally understand, like as a consumer, that's a
The
different
other
kind of
side,
experience.
yeah, the other side of that, and I know that GDC I think does this as well, pretty much, as though it's the one or few times where companies come together and collaborate and have ideas and have communications with each other for the
Yeah.
first time. So like, you get somebody like Sam Lake in the same place as Todd Howard, which is Remedy and Bethesda, and they meet
Bethesda.
and they have ideas and stuff like that. Like that happens in this place. Like this is the conglomerate of all the wonderful stories that
Like,
I've
you could
heard.
see Miyamoto playing a PlayStation game. Like, there's
Well,
there's
yeah.
no
Yeah, I mean, I bumped into Shuhei Yoshida playing Bloodstain, and I felt like I startled him. So I feel bad for that. But I mean, in terms of like how new ideas come created, new collaborations happen.
Okay,
That
you're
happens
right. You're right. You're fair.
personally versus places where like we're all obviously it's for the media showcases are really just advertisements for us. But they're
Yes.
also
Yeah.
advertisements for the GameStop people that need to put it in their stores, for the Walmarts, for all that. Like it's all those things too. Those things, those relationships still need to be massaged in some aspects, and this is how they're trying to work that around. I think that's what it is. It is obviously also a swag fest of swag stuff and stuff like that to like butter you up. Like I'm still mad I didn't get the Cyberpunk jacket, but at the same time,
I was mad and I didn't even go.
no, I know.
Yeah.
I saw it walking around. I'm like, because I was impressed. I ended up getting in because of
Oh, okay.
Fan Fest from Xbox, so I had very less access before everybody else did. But yeah, at the same time, I'm gonna miss a lot of the cool stuff. I miss the food trucks. But yeah, I think that a lot, like I said, a lot of those things that are key are going to be interesting in how the industry figures that out and how we foster that in the future. I think those are the major things I think that we're not thinking about that I think is key for E3.
So you said it's E3 is very important for like the industry.
I do.
Do you
At least the
think
time frame is. I'm just curious
Yeah.
to like what is going to be, the alternative for that.
do you think maybe Game Awards could be that, but they would need to make it longer than just one day, right? It would have to be just like a series of several days. But they wouldn't do that is the thing. Do
Yeah,
you
Game
think
Awards does a specific thing, and I think it's a great show, but
but
at
I
the
feel
same
like
time, it's
Game
gone
Game
way
Awards
too
is
long.
now Game Awards right now is that event that everybody looks at for video games stuff. It's not in the summer, but that's like where the eyes are.
yeah.
It used to be E3, but now
Mhm.
it's Game Awards.
Well, I
And-
I mean, I
mean,
also
I
think
slightly disagree
Gamescom
with
is
that,
coming
to
up.
be honest with you.
But Gamescom isn't for new or like new announcements. It's for like
Well, that's the
updates on
thing
games.
because like now Jeff Keighley does like opening night live at Gamescom,
You're right.
and at
Yeah.
the last one he had Kojima like come out on stage. I was in the audience when Kojima came out on stage and everyone lost their minds, and
So
I was just like, maybe that's going to be the because that's like the culmination of Summer Games Fest because that's sort
Sure.
of
So
August
then
time.
could Gamescom
So
be the next E3? Like the
I mean,
next big
I don't know because
Well,
Gamescom has never been an industry focused event. It's always
Yeah.
been a consumer focused event. So, the
Mhm.
stuff that you talked about like massaging the kind of the retailers and your Walmarts and all those kind of people, like, I don't know how you're going to make it. You can't turn it back and make it an industry only thing. And maybe you could do something where you have like a few days, which is just industry, but they already kind of have that. Like Gamescom has one day, which is media get early access because it's just huge. So
Okay.
even then, yeah, I don't know, it'll be weird, but I think Gamescom could become a bit more prominent in the sort of the cycle, at least on the consumer side.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could definitely see the best thing for E3 is to go back to just being media industry, like just private events, just for that, and then consumers have packs.
they need
Yeah,
money. They
that-
need money.
That's
Consumers give you money.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Like the reason why they did it in the first place was because people were buying those tickets and it was selling out like crazy. I mean,
But I don't think
the
they
first
did it.
couple years.
They did it well. They could have done it better because they were losing a lot of partners really quickly.
No,
I
they
think the
are.
only people that were like really, upset about, well, maybe upset's a strong word, but like a bit
But
jaded
Xbox
on
was the
having
first
consumers
one.
there is because like industry people were just a bit mad because they didn't have enough time to see everything that they wanted
But
to
like
see.
of the big three, Xbox was the first one to leave because they're like, this is cute. We can do this better for ourselves. And I
No,
think.
it was EA. I mean, Xbox was still there.
Well, I
in
was thinking about the big
2019.
three. I was thinking about the big three. I was just like,
You're talking about this year is when
no,
they announced it?
the big three,
Might be
like
last year.
Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox. Nintendo,
Got it.
PlayStation, Xbox, like because Xbox left, then PlayStation left, and Nintendo's
But you're
there, but
talking about because
barely.
of the coronavirus, right? Because they were there in 2019. I was there.
No, but Xbox hosts
Oh,
their own event
PlayStation.
across the street. Xbox does their own event across the street from E3.
I thought that was the EA Play
That's
thing.
EA. That's EA.
Oh, okay, you're right. Sorry.
But they're all in the same time frame. So
Yeah.
even if
Yeah.
they're not together, they're still together. And the same
Yeah.
reason, like when you brought up Keeley's thing, his thing is not like everyone goes to him. Really, his thing happens around them. The moment that
Yeah.
they announce an event, he's like, "Oh, it's part of Games Fest." It was so weird. The only thing that's ever was really him was Gamescom, and when he announced Spyro,
Crash.
and
Yeah.
Tony Hawk, only because those
Oh,
were
you're right.
those were active. They were both Activision games, so he had a deal of some sort with Activision at that point. But yeah,
And
whenever there's an
Crash went
event,
to his house.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's basically whenever with the mask and everything.
Yeah.
So whenever there was an event, it was like, now it's Gamescom. We're like, wait, what is everything Gamescom? Or not Gamescom?
And then
yeah,
IGN did the same thing too, where they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, we're gonna host this on our site too for our IGN summer thing." It's
Yeah.
like,
and they're like, now
okay.
that's also part of Jeff Keighley's stuff. Like it's all big,
It's
So-
becoming like Inception now, isn't it? When you
a
think
little
about
bit.
it.
Yeah,
So
he was
Like,
an
so-
advent calendar for gaming. That's all he was.
then clearly the issue is the pandemic keeping all of us apart. We can't really get together. Do you think after this is over, we lose all these separate digital events and then can come back to E3?
No, I think they're stronger. Personally, I think it's going to be
Yeah.
way stronger now. I mean, why save so much money doing it?
Yeah.
That's why that it's such a marketing tool. But I'm curious about, like I said, those relationships with all those other
Collaborations.
retailers.
Yeah.
Now, if they're just
Yeah.
showing them privately and having discussions in Zoom calls, which is probably what's happening. We're having conversations in Zoom calls. That's
They
probably
can
what
coexist, really, because when you look at PlayStation and their state of play, you know, they'll announce something at an E3, but then they'll do a state of play with a deeper dive on that game as well and give you updates through that mechanism. So they can
I mean,
both exist, I
didn't
think.
that happen with Knockout City? Like they announced it in the Nintendo Direct, and then they had a bit of a deep dive on the state of play. And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh,
Yeah, what I sort of mean is like PlayStation will maybe announce a game at E3, but then maybe like
right.
a few months down the line they'll release more information on that game on their own sort of state of play, sort of you know digital event or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, they can coexist, but you know the next this year's I think is a write off, but next year's gonna be like the real sort of moment where you see what's happening. Where is this industry going to go in terms of like E3 and like digital events with other?
I mean, one thing that I would like to see more of is if they don't focus on these big press conference events where they're announcing loads of stuff. I'd love to see more of the PlayStation Experience style events.
Yes.
Where they do like the developer stage events and you can meet the you can meet the devs and have like kind of fireside chats with them, and you know they had the thing with the trading cards at each different booth and you can play the demos and collect the cards, and
You've got a
there's
very
a
impressive
fan
collection.
service.
I will say.
I've got all of the cards. I've got all the cards from PlayStation Experiences, but like
all
that
the
kind of
lanyards
stuff.
as well.
All the lanyards. But it's just such an engaging experience. Like as an event that I went to, because I went there as industry, but I was also there kind of as a fan because I wasn't back to back on meetings. I had a few here and there and whatnot. And so like when I was wandering the show floor, I was loving that experience the most out of any event I've been to. Maybe I'm biased because I'm a PlayStation fan, like, and that's my ecosystem of choice. But just that type of event where you've got the developer deep dives and the sort of fireside chats, and there are more playable demos on the show floor, and there's stuff for fans to do. Like you got the app, you've got like the event had trophies where you would like have an app with different challenges you could do while you're there. And I was like, that kind of stuff is going to be more fun. Like fans would enjoy that more, because I think if you were a fan that went to the E3 when they opened their doors, your experience wouldn't have been. It would have been cool to be like, I'm at E3, but all the good stuff is still behind closed doors for media. But it is Swagfest. You get your free T-shirts and hoodies and stuff, and that's what people enjoyed, I guess. But like, there were like 5-hour long lines to like play.
Pay $100 for a $5 hoodie.
Yeah. And I'm just like, I don't know. The more, if you're gonna do like live events, do it like community focused stuff, and then that will probably get more engagement.
What were you saying, Mario?
Well, two things. First, just so you don't get comments about it, you were technically right. One of the companies did pull out in 2019. It was PlayStation. PlayStation was gone because the infamous wall was missing, which is Xbox and PlayStation. So yeah, I remembered that. I
could have sworn Xbox wasn't in the E3
no, they're in there. They're both in there.
They're in there? Okay.
Yeah, they had a wall. Still.
Okay, I was wrong then. I was wrong on that, but I was right on PlayStation leaving.
Yes. No, so either way, they were still connected. It's just that it was in a different building. That is also true. You're also correct on that. But they were still connected. Either way, but absolutely, you are correct. I actually would love for those experiences. The closest thing that I've gotten to experience it was because I did the Xbox Fan Fest for E3, and basically the night before E3 really kicked off, we got to go on the E3 stage and play the games in the background. So
I saw clips of that.
Yeah, and Phil Spencer was there, Bonnie Hunt was there, Aaron Green.
Was that the event where they were showing off xCloud?
They were showing. I played xCloud for the very first time there. I was playing it on a S9 phone, and they had the controller attached to it. And I was playing Halo.
Remember the Microsoft phones and how quickly they just dropped those?
No,
the
no,
Lumia.
they were on Samsungs. They were showing it off.
No,
on
I
Sam-
know they're on Samsungs, but like that would have been
Yeah.
like the moment to show like we
Sure,
have
sure.
Microsoft phones.
No,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah, and like that atmosphere of everyone, it's bathed in green, and then you got
Mhm.
like different setups of like Halo, the Master Chief Collection for PC was like over there in the corner. And then Gears of War 5 was setting up, and Xavier Woods from WWE
Man,
is dressed up
dude,
as a cog, and I'm like, what? This is insane.
I remember that. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
so weird.
Yeah, dude, it was incredible, and I think that's the closest thing that I can think of for the experience that Rolla had for PlayStation. And I think that having these events, because I know they do them like in other countries. I've seen that they did it in Brazil last time, where they had like it was called I don't even know what it was called, Inside Xbox or something like. No, that's their monthly show that they do. They had an event where they went to a place and they had fans there. I'm trying to remember what that
Oh,
was.
they do
Well, I
that. They
mean,
did that in
PlayStation did
Mexico
this
like 2 years
whole
ago.
Yeah, it was in Mexico or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
PlayStation did this whole thing called the Road to Greatness tour, where they had like the big PlayStation truck traveling around the city, and they would set up and have game demo stations and merch giveaways and like concerts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
No. Yeah, that's I would love for that to keep going. If they had tours. Just come around, because the people need to come together again after this is all over. We all need to go hang out and do things. So
absolutely.
we
Oh,
talked
so
tours.
the Mexico event was called XO18.
Thank you
Uh,
so much.
it's because it was in 2018.
Yes.
So I guess they changed it every year they did it.
Yeah, I guess so.
But any closing thoughts on E3? Could it come back? Do we want those fan experiences more than we actually want the E3 event? What do you have to say
I would
about
love for
E3?
everybody to be together again, like a big
Mhm.
old family. But I just, because there's so many things that you will only experience at E3 that you will not be able to explain.
Mhm.
Like me and my friends sitting down in front of outside the theater, and then Sam Lake from, that's why I brought his name up earlier, Remedy, is walking with like a bunch of girls. And that if you don't know who Sam Lake is, he's the face of Max Payne. So you're
I
just
know,
like, what's
I
happening?
know who he is.
Yeah, so you're just like, what's happening right now?
No, I agree. I had a similar experience where
Well,
I
you're
was
also with girls, were you, Rahul?
no, I wish. No, I was at one of the food carts at E3, and I lined up, and then it turns out I was lining up right behind Ted Price from
Oh
Insomniac,
wow.
and I was just like, oh, and then I had a chat with him while I was in the line. I took a picture with him, and then I got my food, and we went our separate ways. It was great. It was
Yeah.
like, it's
You've
really
never
dope.
forgotten that encounter, have you? Just every night,
No.
just looking at your picture of Ted Price, like what could have been, what could have been.
I had a for the first time I went in 2016. I bumped into Neil Druckmann, and he signed my notebook, that it was a Uncharted notebook, and then he just disappeared into the ether. It was so cool.
Did you ask him anything
Cool
about
guys
like
don't
did you
look in
I
your
said I,
did you
I
ask him
can't.
about
I
Last of Us
said
2?
I said I can't wait for Last of Us Part 2, and then he just looked at me and walked away. That was
And he
it.
was like, I can't wait for your heart to be broken. Like I
Yeah.
just can't wait to let you down.
Yeah.
Well, depending on your thoughts on the game, like there
I
are people
love,
of
yeah,
both
no,
ways
yeah,
stuff.
of course. Yeah. And then I got to meet Ellie later that day, which was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Kumail, or do you hope to have
That's-
that
yeah.
Pokemon E3 event moment where you get to like see the giant Squirtle, the giant
I mean, I've
Square
been
Bunny?
missing like events in the UK, like Comic Con and like Hyper Japan and stuff like that.
Mm.
And like for people that have been to E3, I haven't been, but for people that have been to E3, I do hope that there is another physical event next year. And like,
Mhm.
who's to say? It might happen, it might not happen. But if I was a betting man, I'd say we would have a physical E3 next year. So yeah.
And yeah, like you guys said, there are really interesting experiences you could have at E3. Whether it's like on the Xbox stage, you could see Keanu Reeves come out and say
did.
Cyberpunk. And
You're
speaking of
breathtaking.
Cyberpunk, one of the biggest hacks that's happened in the games industry, CD Projekt Red got hacked this month.
No.
Quote, they got pwned.
Cyberpunk.
They got pwned.
I do like the term. I do like the term.
Yeah, I read out the statement, but I'm pretty sure you guys did too.
Yeah.
What is this one of the biggest like hacks that's happened in the industry? Like they
So this
took
has
source
happened to
code
them before, and
to
like
CD Projekt Red?
yeah, I think it maybe happened like the year before, to a lesser extent, where they got a hold of like an earlier version of Cyberpunk.
Well, this is source code for Witcher 3. I forget the other game. And CD Cyberpunk, and they
The
also
sort of
have
point, the point I was
information
going
on the
to is like,
studio.
yeah, the,
Yeah,
the sort of point I was getting
unreleased.
to is like they've been hacked once already. You'd
But
think
this
they
is
would beef
big.
up the security. Yeah, but you would have thought they would have beefed up the security for it to
Apparently,
happen
they knocked
again.
it down.
Well, yeah. Apparently, it's like I don't know. Maybe CD weren't taking it seriously enough, or I don't
Yeah.
know what the hell
I
happened
mean,
there.
I'm going to give them a little bit of benefit of the doubt. This is
Yeah.
obviously a totally growing pain of a year. That
Mm.
Yeah.
maybe it's possible that through some
I'm-
remote channels of how
I
they're
was gonna
able
say-
to give, because they have to send every company is going to have to deal with sending really
Files
encrypted files
online.
to your employees at home. So it's like I can
There's
I
that
can
risk.
see where
Yes.
I can see where a wiggle room somewhere something got lost in
Yeah.
the cracks. And then got
Yeah.
through.
But so, like I just mentioned, one of the source codes or 3 source codes for 3 big games were leaked. Do you guys know what are the risks of having your source code out there? Do you guys
I mean, I'm not even
understand
gonna
that risk?
pretend to know. I mean, I guess source code, like understanding how a game works, maybe able to like copy that and make your own game based on the source code of that game. I mean, that's a guess.
It's a
It's
lot
not a
of
guess,
it's a
but
lot
I
about
don't think it's
intellectual
true.
property and like your source code is like how you developed the game and like a lot
Mhm.
of the hard work that came into like the bare bones of how your game came together is all in the source code. Like a lot of the sort of the hard work and thinking of like how you get how do you like build like here's my vision, how do I transform it to game? A lot of that is going to be embedded in the source code, and that's it's a big blow in terms of, you know, you might have spent 5 years developing that all your ideas and putting it into this code form, and then someone can just take all of that and be like, oh, this is how you did that, like this is how you achieved this thing that, you know,
Yeah.
made your game super popular. Like we can just steal that and not have to do any of the hard work or thinking ourselves. Like that's probably what the danger is,
Thank you,
at least
Mr.
from
Video
my
Games Lawyer.
understanding.
Mr. Video Games
Well,
Lawyer,
that's my understanding,
legalese.
because I'm not a software I'm not
But
like
you
a
do deal with the
programmer.
legalese. You do deal with the legalese of
I
like
do.
what is in the software.
Yeah, but I don't necessarily understand like exactly what is in source code. I just know that it's like the infrastructure for everything else.
Mhm.
But yeah,
So apparently the risk, or do you have any guess, Mario, as to what it could be?
No, I think we're all set up pretty well. in
So
terms
I
of
get
where that's with.
from my understanding, the risk is one, it's easy to redistribute the games, but like it's not easy because they would still need to be able to reconstruct the game from the source code. But there's no point in doing that because, from my understanding, CD Projekt Red's games have open files, so people could just share their copy of the game with their friends, and that's why people love CD Projekt Red. That's one of the reasons why people love CD Projekt Red on PC, is because if you buy one copy of like Witcher 3, you can share it to all your friends.
This
Yeah.
reminds me of E3 going back to the previous stories. Like, this is how you share games with your friends.
Yeah,
Thanks.
but
Yeah,
but
I think
also
we need E3 back, baby.
But so- but also the risk is that like other companies can, like you said, Rahul, they can look at like how the game was made. And like they could look at some of the infrastructures or like the systems that they made for the game that they wanted to keep to themselves.
yeah,
But for the selling price of $1 million for the first bid, the starting bid was $1 million, and buy now price at 7 million. It probably wouldn't be worth it for a developer because it would take a lot of time to reconstruct it and look at every asset. It
Yeah.
probably wouldn't be worth it. And
No, I personally, I think the whole situation is terrible. Pretty much
yeah,
because the whole reason they did this was to cause grief on a company that they were upset about because the game that they wanted to buy wasn't perfect,
yeah.
and they just
Yeah.
gave them more grief, which now caused them to now skip a patch
the
up,
update that would have,
which is so stupid. It's such
And,
a stupid thing to do.
So apparently somebody bought the source code. There's speculation that it was CD Project Red trying to find the hackers.
Good.
But that's speculation. We don't really know. But somebody
Hmm.
did buy the source code, so it's out there.
Yeah.
But
no.
this is all horrible. They spent at least a week trying to remedy the situation, from my understanding. And like you
No.
said, it was a
There's not
broken
much else to
game.
say, is
Like,
there?
but there's no reason to do this.
Yeah.
there's there's
It's
no reason.
absolutely asinine. Why would you do this? It just
Question for you guys though. So we obviously have this hack in which, you know, CD Projekt lost the source code for their 3 games. But do you think that's more or less or the same level of damaging as what happened with the Capcom hacks, where their commercial plans and roadmap for the next 4 years of games was leaked, and you got all the documents about like literally these games are coming out across the next 4 or 5 years. Like, which one do you think is more damaging to a company?
By
I-
far, I think the marketing plan for the Capcom one, I think, is
Yeah.
far more damaging because these are things that we did not know about, and of course, a lot of
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
information has come out, and of course, some of them was Resident Evil Village or the
Yeah.
battle royale game of some sort, or some
Yeah.
some other stuff. So yeah, it absolutely. I think that's more devastating because there
Yeah.
are people in the background working on those games secretly and not being able to tell their family what they're working on, and the fact
Yeah.
that some I don't know if we can curse on the show, so I'm going to say some jerk,
For it. Go
uh,
for it. Go for it. Yeah.
some
Go for it.
dickhead, decides to just steal all their work and leak it out to the internet. It's just like, come on, dude. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's interesting to like, yes, the only cool thing I think that kind of got announced out of this was, yeah, there's a unreleased version of Witcher 3. I'm curious as to what that is, but at this
Hmm.
extent of ruining a game that you apparently loved is so still stupid.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
agreed.
think while in the industry side, the Capcom is more damaging, the fact that they have actual information on people that work at CD Projekt Red, to
Yeah.
me personally, that adds to it, this being more of a risk to
No,
people's personal
understandable.
lives.
But the same way we bring up to the last story with E3, I mean, it was
I mean, you're
annoyance.
right. You're right. Like it is an annoyance.
Yeah, like my
You can
friend
change your phone
dealt with it.
number.
Yeah, that's what they did. They changed their phone number. Once he got our phone number he didn't recognize, it's like, all right, well, I'm doing that. So it's just really, that's just an annoyance at the end of the day. I do
And it
think that the marketing plan is probably still heavy.
and apparently there's stuff from the hack that we didn't see yet. There's still stuff that they're holding back, like how the company works as like how it works, how it functions. So
Yeah.
there could be more stuff that is out there that we don't know yet. And I hopefully, realistically, I don't want to know. Because
Yeah,
if this whole thing is out of spite, I don't want to know what that
Yeah.
is.
yeah, I think the only reason why this is anywhere near like public is because of how silly and ridiculous that stupid note was from the
It's so funny.
1995 movie Hackers. Like, it was like
So
so ridiculous.
apparently
been
the
told.
reason why they wrote it like that is, this is a theory, so that they couldn't trace it back to somebody's specific type of writing. So they made up a character to write that up. So which is why it sounds so ridiculous.
They sound exactly like the same people that wrote that calling card to Nintendo, like for
Yeah.
the Direct. Like,
But like the
idiots.
people, hackers have been found for using specific writing tactics because people were like, "Oh, I only know one person that would write like that." And there's this person. So they sometimes they try to make up a character when they write notes like this, like ransom notes
It
like
was
this.
Ragul.
So like but yeah, sometimes hackers make up like characters when they write ransom notes like this so it can't be traced back to them. So that's why
Fine.
it sounds ridiculous. No, but that's a theory.
Yeah.
It could mean
Yeah.
nothing.
But that's just a game theory. Wait, wrong show.
Really. Well, really though.
Where's Matt Pat?
But yeah, this whole CD Projekt Red thing is horrible, and I hope these people get found sooner rather than
Agreed.
later.
You will be the ones that are pwned.
Rahul, do you think the reaction across the studio was like, shit? Shit.
Well, what's the legal ramifications of this, Rahul? What could this possibly look like on their end? What do you
on
think? What do
CD
you
Projekt?
on CD Projekt Red? What do you think like this could have looked like as far as like what you would
I mean,
assume?
I don't think there are. I mean, obviously, if they find out who the hacker is,
Mhm.
there's obviously a lot of legal ramifications on the hacker. Like CD
Yeah.
Projekt could absolutely like sue them. Like, it's definitely intellectual property infringement, 100%. Like,
But
you're illegally stealing and distributing like proprietary like source code. In terms of on CD Projekt Red, it's more.
of
I don't know if there's a
annoyance.
legal. Yeah, there's not necessarily a legal ramification unless there's employee data that was
Yeah,
stolen, and you're getting into personal data situation,
which
and
allegedly there
like
was.
which could
Allegedly
be
there
like a
was.
breach of GDPR, the general data protection
Yeah.
regulation. So like
There'd
then
probably
the
have to be like an
employee,
inquest to it, right? To see
yeah,
how the data
like
was taken.
yeah. So
'Cause-
there could be like a kind of class action from employees of CD Projekt saying that they didn't protect our data properly, and that's why, I mean, again, like it's really complicated, and there's a lot of different ways it could go. But there's scope for some sort of legal action on that end. But ultimately, like the
'Cause CD
ramifications on CD Projekt for like the hack happening
it's
is
nothing on
very
them
difficult.
really.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean,
I
other than their security not being up to scratch or like up to
Yeah.
sort of promised standards, that's pretty much the
I
only thing they
remember
could be at fault.
after they made the tweet like this happened, they made it a point to make another tweet that's like, "Any former employees, we don't have your information anymore," which leads me to believe that any current employees might have been affected by this. So it's like there's a chance.
Yeah,
So it's
there,
like,
there's a chance, but yeah,
mhm.
I think they've got bigger fish to fry over there.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
so I mean, yeah, I hope that because again, like they obviously screwed up the launch and had a couple like issues on this stuff, but ultimately, like I think the devs and the studio as a whole, like I want them to get through this. Like I want them to, you know, get back to formal glory. I want the PS5 like native version of Cyberpunk to be great whenever it comes out. And I
yeah.
want people to play up and I want there to be like a No Man's Sky redemption story for Cyberpunk because I've not played it yet, hoping that that native version comes
It's
out.
still not available in the PlayStation Store. Still
It
not
is
Yeah.
there.
not.
I got a
So
copy early on, and I played it, and I beat it on PlayStation 5, and I enjoyed myself. So I hope other
That's
people get to enjoy themselves.
that's good that you enjoyed it. That's good that you're able to enjoy it. Sucks that nobody else was.
It crashed like every hour or so, but still, I played through it.
Yeah.
I was able to manage through 30 hours, but yeah, still,
yeah.
yeah.
Speaking of crashes, no, this is a really bad. Well, let's talk about the
Are we
state of
in a
play.
Crash Bandicoot segue right now?
Yeah, the Crash Bandicoot state of play segue. Why not? Sure. Uh, this month we had a Nintendo Direct, which we'd gone 500 days without one. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Over a year without a Nintendo, like a full Nintendo Direct, and we had a state of play and a Pokemon Direct. And
Pokemon Presents.
Pokemon Presents. Excuse me, Mr. Pokemon.
I'm gonna
Mr.
keep you
Pokemon.
honest.
Do not mess with the Pokemon
So
Master.
from these three presentations, three big events, would you say what was your favorite like commercial advertising events that you saw? Because really, we talk about these like, oh yes, we're owed this. These are advertisements.
I mean, there was
Well,
something in it for me for every sort of
yeah,
streaming service. I mean, obviously with Pokemon Presents, I knew I was going to get Pokemon. I didn't know what sort of Pokemon stuff I was going to get, so that was fun. Nintendo, like looking at new games that are coming out, you're seeing that they're doing some stuff for Zelda. Finding out that Breath of the Wild 2 is still in development, but we're going to get some more news later down the line. That's pretty cool. Splatoon 3 being announced, and like with State of Play, like having updates on games that we've heard about, like Kena, for example, and finding out that
Knockout
we're gonna
City.
get yeah, Knockout City. Yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, I think there's something in it for me with every single like digital event that was
Yeah.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
What
I
about that
had
Post Malone event?
I did watch it. Was it
cool.
any good?
I
Yeah,
thought
it
it
was
was pretty cool.
I mean, like
That's
the,
cool.
the graphics in the background are actually really decent, and like some of the songs are
The
bangers. So yeah,
the only
What?
announcement that they had in the Post Malone concert was like there's more musicians working on Pokemon music.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
they
The
kind
only
of hinted to us that's what they're going to give us more information on, but we didn't know in
Mm.
what scope. So
Got it.
yeah,
The only clip that I've seen so far is obviously people have been taking one of Post
Charizard.
Malone's songs. No. It's
Oh,
Post Malone's songs where he talks about sex, and you just see Pokemon flying by.
I saw that.
hey, even in the Pokemon universe, there's like male and
Hey,
female. We're talking about that
I'm
sort of sex. We're
glad.
not talking about
I'm
the other sort
glad.
of sex.
I'm glad that yeah, I know. I'm glad there's procreation happening in Pokemon universe, and
Exactly.
Post Malone's spearheading it.
Funny enough, we still don't know how eggs come to be. Like that's
So
the thing in a Pokemon universe. They just still don't know where
they
eggs
just
come from.
appear.
Yeah.
So something interesting. A lot of people were disappointed with like the Nintendo Direct and the state of play. Do you guys think this is because of COVID? Like they don't have much in development right now, or like development is being slower and taking longer than usual that they don't have enough to show, or is it because we're in a weird like life cycle in each of their
Expectation.
systems?
I think it's
Expectations.
Yeah.
expectations, especially with State of
I'm
Play. I
with you.
thought State of Play was actually really good.
I mean,
Yeah.
because here's the thing, right? Like, PlayStation launched their console in November, and they did the two massive like PlayStation live streams for the PS5, the reveal stream, and then the other like launch or like price reveal stream or whatever it was.
That
And they
was
had some
massive. Yeah.
huge games. Like you got like big
Yeah.
first party games, and you're seeing Harry Potter, and what else did we see? We saw like Ratchet and Clank get announced, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, and I was just like, yeah, they can do big stuff. Like they got stuff coming, but yeah, it's about expectations. Like the state of players in these direct. I mean, the direct. Okay, like normally they do like an indie world showcase or something,
Yeah.
which would denote like maybe it's not you're not going to get your brand new Mario or Breath of the Wild 2 update. But like, okay, so when you see the Nintendo Direct and it's been 500 days, I think there were expectations on that one. But
Yeah.
for the state of play, I was like, come on, I mean, okay, it was a few months ago, but they did 2 huge streams. Like,
Mhm.
what if you were really expecting to get like,
I saw
Elden
someone
Ring?
wanting God of War 2 gameplay. I was like, seriously?
Yeah, like
You
I
thought you were
think,
gonna get God of
yeah. I mean, I
We
get it.
barely
Like
got a
people can get
title.
hyped.
We
Yeah,
barely have a title for
yeah.
that game.
like, it's good to be hyped, and I get swept up in the hype, and I love it. And I
Mhm.
love like listening to prediction episodes and all that jazz. But then ultimately, I'm just like, when just before the event starts, I'm like, Rahul, just remember,
Yeah.
like, it's don't be disappointed
There are
if you
people
don't get
behind
like
this.
everything. Yeah, like if like because I was just like, someone asked me what my get hype moment of the state of play would be, and I was like, if they announced Spyro 4. And I was just like, I'm not gonna get that. So if it doesn't happen, don't be disappointed because that's
Yeah.
dumb. Like, just
Yeah.
think about like take it at face value. Like, what did you get? And I was like, actually, yeah, we got some cool stuff. Like, it was
Mhm.
great to see some like Solar Ash gameplay and know what that game is. Same with Returnal because I was like, I didn't really know what the game was from that first trailer, and I have a better idea of what the moment to moment gameplay is going to be. So I was like, that those kind of updates was like, it was pretty good. I'm glad we got them. But yeah, it just wasn't as hype, which
But
I
was all
think
down to
people
expectations.
I think people would have been more excited, especially for the Nintendo, if the Pokemon stuff was actually in it. But I think it makes
yeah,
total sense the fact that it is the 25th anniversary. You want to celebrate,
they
and
want to own it.
honestly,
They want to own that moment.
that trailer was hype. That early trailer was really cool, and the way that they did it. But
Oh,
I think those
wait,
two,
which
and
trailer?
the
Diamond
no, no,
or
no, 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 no,
Arceus?
no, not even talking about the games yet. I'm talking
Oh,
about the 25th anniversary
oh yeah,
hype trailer that got you excited, and then you got two major announcements. I
yeah.
think that those two major announcements, and coupled with all of the other Nintendo stuff that was in the direct, I think it would have been a actually pretty solid banger event because you got two major
Mhm.
Pokemon games, Splatoon 3, which a lot of people are fans of, and then you are getting a Zelda thing, but it's not obviously the Zelda thing that everybody wants, but it's still a Zelda thing. There's
They
one
probably
other
should
major
have.
one that I can't think of.
Well, for me,
Splatoon.
one of the major ones was like Project Triangle Strategy. Having the
Yeah, sure.
Octopath Traveler
Yeah.
people like bringing that game out.
That's
So
Yeah.
basically Octopath Traveler, but more complicated. Is what Project Triangle Strategy
Yeah.
is.
To me,
Uh,
it was Final Fantasy Tactics, and I was all about it. So
oh, it's a fun game. Yeah.
I'm very excited to see it. But yeah, but I think that people would have been less. But the fact that they coupled it like a week later, I'm like, fine. It's so I think at the end of the day, it's okay. I think we're okay this year for Nintendo, and I just think people expectations are just sort of out of whack for that. In my
Because people were
opinion.
like I said, it was 500 days. People were like, it's gonna be something big. We're getting Breath of the
Here's the
Wild
thing.
2
Like
dropping day and
my
date.
big
Like,
frustration is we keep saying it's been 500 days, but like let's remember we're still getting like these mini directs and stuff like that. Like you're still getting these sorts of
well, like
events.
the
And like
mini
to be honest with
directs
you,
were
if you
more
had
because
said
of
that
like they
that
had
Nintendo
contracts.
Direct was like a mini direct, I wouldn't have been able to tell you the difference between
If you
what we've
told me
seen coming up to
if you
that.
told me 500 days I didn't get an actual Nintendo game, then I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm upset. But we've not. That's not true.
We
We've
had Animal
had
Crossing. Yeah,
Animal Crossing. We've had a
Mario 3D
uh,
All Stars,
Mario 3 All Stars. We've had
Mario
the Warrior games. Like we've had
Hyrule
games.
Warriors. Yeah.
Mm.
Well, the thing
So
with the partner directs is because
calm
they
down.
were third party events that they had contracts with, which is why
Mhm.
people were like, those are not actual Nintendo directs because there were no actual Nintendo exclusive games in there.
That's fine.
That's no, but I'm talking to Camille. Like, this is why people make a big deal about what's a partner direct, what's a direct
People
direct.
put too much stock in it,
I know,
honestly, and they've
I
got
know.
themselves to blame for it. I'm sorry.
Same thing with this Sony
Yeah.
thing. They said specifically these are games focusing on games that were announced in the June event.
Mhm.
Don't freak the hell out. And then yeah, I mean the
I
coolest
think
thing out of
companies
it.
are like catching on to it as well, aren't they, Mario? The fact that they have to disclose that now is yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. They like are trying to temper expectations without killing the hype. Like
Mhm.
they're trying to find that way where they're like, we don't want to literally say here's an event, but it's not going to have anything you want. Because obviously, what's the point of putting out the event if they're
I
going
think
to market it like that? But they have
Yeah.
to find a way to be like, guys, like, please don't come back and like shit on us on
I think
Twitter
really
when
early
you
on.
didn't get God of War and Horizon and Elden Ring and
Yeah. I
whatever.
think I think the Final Fantasy news was awesome. The fact that you get a
Oh yeah, that
PS5
was sick.
copy of it, it looks incredible. Hopefully they fix the polygonal doors, and you'll
Getting
get
like
that
an episode of a
deal.
new character, like
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's
However,
the game.
the Final Fantasy thing is weird when you factor in that you can get Final Fantasy 7 on PS Plus, but it doesn't transfer over to PS5.
No, it
That's
doesn't.
a whole
Yeah.
different. That's
Yeah,
a
it's a
whole
whole
different.
different
That's
bag
a
of
whole
worms.
Yeah.
separate. Yeah, it's a whole
That's-
bag of worms. And then the rest of that night, you got other great Final Fantasy news, 2 iOS games and
Mhm.
music. So your night was okay, kids. Don't
You
worry.
got a free game for PlayStation Plus with Odd World.
Yes.
You know, like that's
Yeah.
great
Yeah.
news.
That
Like
too.
someone's gonna be excited for that.
Yeah.
Sifu was revealed. That's a great reveal.
That looked
I mean,
incredible. Kenya looks
yeah.
amazing. I can't wait to
Yeah.
play Kenya.
We got a date on that as
Oh
well.
yeah, kind of looks sick.
Yes.
Here's the other thing, like leading up to these events is like, you're in this sort of bubble where you're hearing people saying, "Oh, what if they announce this and that and the other?" And then you start to like say to yourself, "They're gonna announce it. They have to announce it." You keep lying to yourself, and the more you lie to yourself, the more you think it's gonna be true. Like,
Same thing with WandaVision people. Everyone keeps thinking certain things, and then like you're
Yeah.
talking to yourself. You're talking
Yeah.
into a mirror.
Yep. I think people need to temper their expectations with these, especially. I
but
think
where's
Nintendo's really good about
Pokemon
it last
Sleep?
year.
Are you
Yeah,
kidding
where-
me?
where the hell's
Are
Pokemon
you
Sleep?
kidding me?
I will say,
My
say,
day's ruined.
Pokemon Legends looks incredible. I'm really excited to play that.
Arceus, yeah, it looks sick. I can't believe we got 2 Breath of the Wild games and now Breath of the Wild 2. It's crazy.
But here's the other thing. I'm so glad Nintendo are like, no, shut up.
Yeah, we're not
working
going to
on
talk
it.
about Breath of the
You're not
Wild 2.
seeing
Yeah,
it.
we're not
Because
seeing it.
this is
today.
exactly what happened with Cyberpunk, where people see it too much. We want it now. We want it now. We want it now. You
Well-
get it now, and look what comes out. Hot
Yeah.
garbage of trash. I'm not, well.
One of my
Lots of
favorite
crashes. Let's say.
One of my favorite reactions to the Nintendo Direct was Joe Medforce, where they're like, "We're gonna show you a very special Legend of Zelda game right now," and then it's like a blue sky, and he's like, "Wind Waker!" It's like Wind Waker. They're doing Wind Waker HD, and then the bird comes out and like the biggest face of disappointment. And it's Skyward Sword, which I'm surprised Skyward Sword is coming to the Switch. I just thought that game was left for dead, honestly. On the Wii.
Every game is coming. No, every game you're ever gonna play is gonna come out again eventually. We're gonna
Yeah.
get all of the Metroid games. We're gonna get all of them. Don't worry.
can't-
Eventually, they're gonna try and repackage that and sell it to you again.
I can't wait for the Master Chief Collection to come to the Switch.
Oh, it's
But-
definitely happening. I'm not
That-
joking. It's definitely gonna happen.
Launching with the Switch Pro in 2022 as the Master Chief Collection.
And it's
I mean,
exactly like it did on the
upgrade.
original
We're all gonna
consoles.
be so disappointed they didn't call it the Switch Pro. Unviable.
So you guys are very up on it. So then, I guess I would
here's the
just
thing,
say,
I
like,
personally thought the state of play was fine. I thought it was a fine state of play,
Mhm.
but I'm still incredibly excited for what they announced in the state of play. So as an event,
Yeah.
I thought it was fine. It was whatever, but like the games inside of it, yeah, pretty good.
Yeah.
so then you guys would just say to people, temper your expectations, essentially.
Look,
Can-
just look for the one thing you're excited about, and just be happy you've got one thing you're excited about. Because like the world
Yeah.
doesn't revolve around me wanting Pokemon Sleep, and because Sleep's not there, it's
Oh,
a shit conference.
Mario.
There's something there for everybody, and like one of those games announced in the state of play or the Nintendo
I want
Direct.
Bayonetta
That's gonna
3.
be someone's favorite game,
Yeah.
for the rest of their lives. And you've got to remember that there's something there for everybody. So
Where's Bayonetta 3, Camille? Where is
ask
it?
Robin. Ask Robin.
Where's Bayonetta
Tell him to
3?
drop that damn game. It's not coming out. False. It's a lie. It was made up. We made it up.
We made it up. Oh my
Oh.
god. So any
Wow.
closing thoughts on these events? Are we gonna see any more this year? Do you guys think?
Yes, we're
'Cause
going to see
hon-
plenty of events.
Oh,
this
plenty
year.
of
my-
yeah, for sure.
My thought was that they put this out, and the reason why people thought it was so lackluster is because it's the end of the fiscal year coming up at the end of March. So they think they're holding on bigger stuff for later on in the year. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
They're just
they even said
working on
so.
it, and yeah.
They even
working
said
on
so
it.
in the direct. They said that they're gonna be some later information about Breath
Yeah.
of the Wild too. So yeah, they're gonna get
Mhm.
something.
I mean, this is the Zelda anniversary too. So
You're gonna
it's
tell
like-
me they're not gonna talk about it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people have been saying like the reason they're not going too hard on the Zelda anniversary stuff is because the Mario anniversary is still going
and
on,
next month, yeah.
and they're like, once Mario is done, we will
Mhm.
then move on to Zelda, and it's just like, okay, cool. Like I completely anticipate there being more stuff on the Zelda side soon.
No, for sure.
Oh yeah. There's Camille. Whoops. All right, we should be good. So yeah, not really much. Just temper your expectations when it comes to these events. They can only do so much. But something we didn't really see at this event, and we'll probably never see again, is Anthem.
Oh,
Yeah.
I got that game for £4, and I'm incredibly disappointed. I'll never like
I want a
get
refund.
that free like upgraded game. I thought I pulled a blinder there.
So,
Honestly.
aside from Camille, has anybody here played Anthem?
I have a
I
sealed copy that I got for $5. So yeah.
I played the beta when they had the open beta.
Mhm.
What it feels
I
like.
thought it was fun.
Sorry, Rahul.
No. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I thought it was fun. Like when I play, I mean, obviously with the beta, you're not expecting there to be depth and story and all that. You just want to have a play with it, of the mechanics, and like have a feel for it. And it
Mhm.
was pretty fun. Like, but generally those kind of games don't grab me as much anyway. Like I'm not really a Destiny guy, and like kind of I'm not into kind of looter shooter type stuff. So I I don't know, it's fun, but yeah, I'm not super gutted that Anthem's dead.
So for people that
I
don't
think it
know,
was an
they were
incredible
gonna do.
marketing tool from them to be like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna do like a next generation version. Here's a game for £5," and they're like bait and switch. You buy the game. We're not giving you a next version.
Well, for people
Paid
that
ya.
don't know, Anthem came out in 2019 in February. A horrible release. Like very not as many people as they were expecting to buy it. So they're gonna do an overhaul of the game, completely redo it, call them Anthem Next, and then they just canceled it early this week.
Yeah.
That game really could have used an overhaul, but they were doing seasonal updates and then they stopped doing them. We're like, no, we're gonna make this up, remake this from the ground up. But honestly, the audience for Anthem and the bad press it got, even with the overhaul, could it have been successful?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes. I mean, how cool
You
was
think
that
so?
trailer we saw initially? Like,
Yeah.
you were kind of like Iron Man, and I was so
Yeah.
excited for that concept. And obviously, like, I don't pre-order games that much unless it's something that I think I can guarantee is going to be good, or I'm guaranteed like excited for, like Monster Hunter Rise, for example. When the game came out and people were like, it's fine, it's whatever game. I thought, I don't really
It
need to play it right
works.
now. Yeah, exactly. But if they had upgraded that game, give it a little marketing push, and had like influencers on the case, like streaming on Twitch and stuff like that, you could have got like people back in, and it could have been an incredible games as a service game. I think so. It could have been
Mm.
successful, but would they've made their money back? Who knows? Because like how much time and effort had they put into that game? Nobody knows now.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Especially if they're selling
Mm.
it for £5.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That's what it comes down to, right? I think that's why they canned it. They were like, look, we probably could have we could have fixed it and made a good game and made it could have had that resurgence, but it's also is it financially worth it? We've already been developing it for 4 years, and now we've spent another 2 years trying to fix it, and we're still not even sure that it's going to be picked up again because games would have moved forward by that time. And from what I understand, like I don't know if this is just a rumor or maybe some tweets that I read, but because this model didn't work for them, the teams moved over to working on Dragon Age 4, and they said that they're going to make Dragon Age 4 a single player RPG, not a game as a service or
They
sort
learned
of.
their lesson.
Yeah, they were like, we're not going to do a kind of open-ended, we're going to add content. I mean, there might be DLC and stuff, but they said we are focusing on making it an single player RPG. And I was like, I think that's probably the best way to go. Like, would you have wanted like an open world? I mean, not open world, but a game as a service style Dragon Age game. They probably were going to try it. Like, if Anthem worked, they were like, yeah, let's do it. Like, let's take all our franchises, make them services, because that's how we make the most money. And they were like, nope, we're not going to do that this time because we've learned a lesson.
So there
So
like before Anthem even released, like they wanted to call it Beyond, and they had the legal issues with that, and there's just a bunch of internal shit.
with IGN's podcast Beyond.
Yeah.
I was about to scream, "Beyond!"
Mario, do you think there was anything they could have done post-launch to save Anthem? Or was it just dead on arrival?
I just think that maybe BioWare is just at this moment, it seems that they're involved in so many things, especially
Mhm.
now, they have Dragon Age coming out. They have this Mass Effect Legendary Edition. They're apparently working on Mass Effect 4. They're also working on, if I'm not mistaken, Old Republic game. It's not them, not the new Old Republic, but something Old Republic related. Is it the MMO? I think. Either way, I think they've had their hands in so many different areas that to put the resources for this to work, I just don't know if it was there, especially since I believe it was like a 30-man team. So I think overall, the idea of when it first popped was like everyone was probably excited for it, but then it really was very cookie cutter in terms of a games of service game. And when it comes to the evolution of all of like Destiny, Division, and all that, they just did not have a solid plan to begin with, even when they were going to have like monthly drops of stuff. Same thing's kind of happening with Avengers, even though I actually kind of like Avengers. I'm hoping that Avengers can maintain that momentum and
Well,
keep going.
I think with Avengers is that it has the name. It has the name,
It does have
and
the name.
it has the
When I
Marvel name, and then, like, people are playing it, like Greg Miller and, like, people. So that's kinda pushing people to play that, but nobody really played Anthem for that long after it came out.
because there wasn't much to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. But at the same, yeah, exactly. So in terms of like, they had their big event, it was Cataclysm or something like that, and then
yeah.
nothing after that.
Yeah.
So it is a
I
shame at the end of the day, because I bought that copy because I was hoping hopefully it would just evolve, and there's another thing that's gonna happen, and it's gonna make you want to play. I'm
I
probably gonna put my time into it now before they shut down servers, which I know they're not going to, but I might
yeah,
as well
they
just
plan to
finish
keep
it
them
now.
over. They plan to keep them open.
Yeah, no. So I'm gonna
I'll
probably
pop some
play.
trophies, you know.
Yeah, I'll just pop it real quick and just see what's going
Easy
on.
plat.
And say I played it and probably put it away forever because no one's gonna. That trade value is not gonna be very high.
Yeah.
So
Uh, I remember at the end of 2019, I think their concurrent player base was like 200,000, which sounds like a lot, but for a game made by EA BioWare, that's not a lot of people. That's not a lot of people for a live service game. So I think they just looked at this and they're like, we either need to revamp it or kill it. And with the COVID pandemic, it just had to die, I think.
Hmm.
not
Yeah.
enough
Well,
there.
it
Yeah.
might have just been like this. They've seen the success with single player games and been like, no point. It's just no
Yeah.
point. If
I
we're going
mean,
to change
Yeah.
Dragon Age, then we're going to change this
Which
too.
is which is funny because
yeah.
people think there's a big success in multiplayer games. But really, there's a lot of love for single player games now.
Yeah.
Well, there is
Especially,
success
yeah.
in multiplayer games if you do it right, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's
But
the thing. It's like you look at games like Last of Us, God of War, Spider-Man being so successful. Like the single player space. I know I just named a bunch of PlayStation titles, but like there are other single player ones that are, you know,
No, you're
doing really
right.
well.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, yeah. So like the space is
100%.
still there. You just have to do it right. And it's like there are too many multiplayer games now. It's like I, there's a lot of games that require a lot of time investment. It's like you can only really do one or two of them before it starts feeling like a chore. Like, all right, I'm going to log into Destiny, do my dailies. Then I'm going to log into, for me, Genshin Impact, make sure I do my dailies, do all my daily dungeons. Then I'm going to log into Anthem and smash out those things. And I'm just like, oh, like I can only
got a
manage
full
one
time
or
job
two
at
of
that point, hasn't it?
these.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
And then, and then
yeah, I'm playing Fortnite and I got to level 100 and there was like more stuff after that. I'm like, I reached 100. I'm done. I don't need to keep going.
I'm over.
I'm
I
over
mean,
this.
and that's the thing. Like with EA, the other side to the coin with the Dragon Age thing, because they saw so much success with Fallen Order being a single player game and Anthem failing, they were like, we're going to make Dragon Age a single player RPG. So
Yeah.
good to see.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this doesn't lead to any more like job losses over there, BioWare. Like,
I think they'll
like,
get shuffled in with
yeah,
their other teams, but it does suck that for people that took the year dedicated to do it, it does suck that
Yeah,
they're
it's kind
will
of like
not be seen
it's
for the
for
most part.
nothing. Yeah.
yeah.
That's the
That's
rub
that's
with
always
games.
rough as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
because like you spend a lot of time and effort like developing, and then like I guess it's tough because you want your kind of resume, CV to have some good titles on it, and it's like it's kind of annoying. It's like, all right, I just spent 4 years working on Anthem, it flopped. Then I spent another year trying to fix Anthem, and they cancelled it. So like, what have I got to show
Yeah.
for the last 5 years? Obviously, yeah, you picked up a lot of skills along the way, and if you were moving jobs or looking for another role in development, you can obviously explain what you learned from that process, and it's still useful. But it's just annoying for you because it's like
Yeah.
crap. Like,
When you work
yeah,
so hard on something, you've got nothing to show for it afterwards. Do you know how
Looking towards something else that they can love working on.
absolutely.
Because clearly they put a lot of heart into Anthem, even though there wasn't a lot of positive vibes
Response.
around the studio,
Yeah.
and then a positive response after it came out. But yeah, that just sucks. But speaking of developers, Japan Studios. might be closing. And this is
It's
like
close.
it's really
It's
weird
close.
to go from like a shitty story to like another shitty story. But this is a speculation story, which is like
No, it's
they're
closing.
it's closing, but because like their contract is coming up in April, they've had layoffs and they've had
People have
disagreements with
left.
PlayStation. Do you
Yeah.
guys know about these disagreements Japan Studios had with PlayStation?
Well, they wanting to, make games for the Japanese market, but then give them like global appeal, and PlayStation
Yeah,
essentially saying, "No, put global appeal first, and then we can worry
yeah,
about everything else later."
yeah. So Japan Studios, creators of Astro's Playroom, I think, and but
To Rush, I think as well.
Gravity Rush,
yeah,
yeah.
they having layoffs, a ton of layoffs, and their contract renews in April, and it's kind of like the writing's on the wall. They're not going to be back after April. What?
No, I
Well,
mean
so they,
every report is saying it's shutting
Yeah,
down, right? So it's like it's gone. It's not gonna be what it
yeah,
was. Team Asobi might be saved, but I think
yeah.
that's
That's the
shutting
yeah,
thing.
I
They're
think
saying that
there
they're
was,
being moved. That some of them are being moved to a different studio, but like that, a lot of people have been let go, and or quit. And yeah, it's just so weird to like see such a recognizable studio, one of the oldest or the oldest studio in PlayStation's lineup, just gone. Like just disappear later this year. Like
yeah. I mean, it's sad, and look, maybe PlayStation will come to regret it. Who knows? I mean, that's something we'll have to see down the line. I mean, like, yeah, I think the Gravity Rush guy had left the studio as a result.
Yeah.
mhm,
And he's gonna be setting up his own thing, and let's see what he brings. But like, I know people who love Gravity Rush, for example, and it's a shame that like these developers don't feel like they can make something for the Japanese audience, but at the same time try
yeah,
target the wider audience. I think me and Rahul would probably agree, like Monster Hunter Rise, like having that Japanese aesthetic, the Western audience love that stuff. We're
yeah.
all in for it. It's like,
I think I think I see where PlayStation is coming from, where they want them to market towards the international market. But at a certain point, you have so many international games being made. Like you can
Mhm, mhm.
spare a studio to make a Japanese
And
focused
well,
game.
the thing is that they were saying they weren't seeing too much return on it. That's one of the reasons, wasn't it? That they
Really?
did not see too much return. Yeah. So I guess look, it was a
Oh yeah,
numbers
they're not
game for them.
profitable. Yeah, they weren't
Yeah,
being profitable. Yeah.
it was a numbers game for them, and they've decided, look, Team Asobi's probably the best chance we've got at like getting some
Mhm.
profit on these games. Let's just keep them open. And like, it's a shame when you've got like EA saying we make money hand over fist. So let's get something like Unravel.
Yeah.
Let's get
Yeah.
something like Unravel that's not going to make money, but
Hey, Unravel 2 is a great
yeah.
game. You shut your mouth.
No, I'm just saying as a general thing, like
Yeah.
it's not going to make too much money, is it? So like,
Oh, yeah, you're right.
yeah, it's a shame that PlayStation can't or won't do the same thing, and
Mhm.
they might
What are your
regret it down the line. They might not regret it down the line, but they've probably done a lot of thinking on this, and it's not been like a quick decision, certainly.
and obviously, with all these job layoffs and even like Techland, the Dying Light 2 studio having their own situation going on there, which I don't feel comfortable talking about there, but like, fuck the higher ups over there. uh, I wish all the developers that have lost their jobs and just people that have left their places of work a very successful future and just nothing but the best for you.
Yeah, I'm sure they're
And
going to pick
speak,
themselves back up.
yeah.
Talented
And
enough.
speaking of like lost jobs, hey Mario, how you doing over there, buddy? So you're
Fuck me,
formerly of Dual
Caesar.
Shockers.
Wow.
You're I'm sorry, but it's like it's the only transition I had. You're formerly of Dual Shockers. You've spoken your piece probably of like the situation there.
Yeah. You can catch
If there's
that
any
on the grind.
catch on the grind, catch it on Simply Sassy. If you want to say anything really quickly, you can right now. But really,
Remember,
my
hold your
question
peace, Mario. You'll never be able to say anything again.
like the month's over. Like this is the month that this happened where like many people left Dual Shockers
Yeah.
for changes in the management. Um and what's
Now
funny
he's
is
at
like
pinpoint, isn't he, Caesar?
after fuck you. Point in progress. There. But after you guys left, or after there was that big whole news week of like people leaving, there was that tweet that DualShockers made. It's like we had our most successful week ever. We're looking to bring on more people.
Yeah.
Come work for us. Payment is not guaranteed. And so my question to you, Mario, is for anybody looking to get into the video games industry in this journalistic aspect, what should they look for? And what are companies looking for in return?
To be completely honest, there's no one way. There is
Yeah.
only the way that you get through.
Mhm.
in a lot of ways, and I know that you preface it with DualShockers their tweet, which in some aspects I think that that company would still pay in some aspects,
Mhm.
but the way that it was before, no, actually, I got in because I had a friend that connected with the website who was working with them, and they were looking to revamp their YouTube channel. And then I joined, did a couple projects, and then they had me on as their YouTube person and didn't pay me until June. So I started in October and they didn't pay me until June. And I was doing
Well,
videos regularly on my own. And
Jeez.
that happens to a lot of people. I mean, a lot of the writers were doing it for free.
yeah.
That happens
Well, I
at a
think
lot
at
of
that
places.
point the website was smaller too, and this right
I mean,
now
a year difference? I don't think it's that much different.
but, like, right now DualShockers has, like, a company that's, like, paying for stuff, like, you would assume that they would pay for a few writers. Like,
No, you're talking
I
about
don't know.
before or after? What are you
Right
referring
now,
to?
I'm talking about right now because they're,
Now
like
they
they
are
made that
paying.
tweet
No, they are paying now.
but there was that tweet of, like, the job where, like
That's not what necessarily what that tweet means, though. It's not
okay,
necessarily that they wouldn't pay you. It's
okay,
just
then I read
it,
that wrong then, sorry.
no, it's okay. But they're paying people now in aspects. You
Yeah,
have they were paying me this month, but I decided to leave, and then they didn't pay me, so I have to figure
mhm,
that out later. But in terms of the way
Rahul, want to step in, buddy?
well, to be fair, it was a verbal deal. So,
Mm.
I don't know if emails are liable. Let me know. I will step in.
Well,
Uh,
we're in the
oh,
gray area.
he's
Let's
looking
just take
for
this offline.
well, we'll talk about that offline. But either way,
here's my card, here's my little
yes,
information card.
exactly. Honestly, but like I said, you get in the way that you get in. If you're a writer, you write, right?
Mhm,
Even if it depends on if you can, but write for people that you think that you can gain from. So if you
mhm,
are going to write for a website, make sure you can gain something from that website. If
okay,
it's monetary value, or some sort of, identity. Like for me, it gave me an identity. It gave me a place where people could see me, and I think that's what I needed in order for me to rise up in anything that I did.
okay,
And to be vocal as well. So, but don't, but without being annoying. But at the same time, yeah, just make sure that you are open to new opportunities as they come, but also
mhm,
do it what you think is reasonable. Um, if it is a website that you haven't heard of, but you want to write something, fun, that's good, because not a lot of websites will do that. You would have to write to sometimes their standard. Like now, right? If you were DualShockers now, right? You have to make sure that everything's a keyword phrase or SEO approved thing. That's because that is their standard. But there are some sites that are less lenient on that. Then if that's what you want to write for, go for it. Build up your resume, build up your stuff. Make sure you save your articles. If you have videos, make sure you save all your assets and all the stuff like that. But I would say, if you have any connections, make friends, talk, have communities, join a community. The biggest community that has given me love, obviously, is the Kind of Funny community. I am indebted to them forever now for everything that they've given and done to me. So yeah, just make sure that you're a good person. You talk to the right people, or at least be in good graces with the right people, and eventually, yeah, resources and people come together and things happen. So that's the best thing I could possibly say.
I mean, Rahul, you write for a company, um, and like people within your industry took notice of your sort of articles and sent you messages, and you've formed relationships based on that, haven't you?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean,
Mm.
yeah, like if you write for, like, even if you just have your own thing, like your own portfolio of stuff that you do on the side, like, yeah, as Mario said, just keep it. Like I I before I went down the route and went into law, I started a blog for PlayStation stuff because I was like, all right, I'm gonna try and go down the media route, and everyone's told me to get a portfolio. So I have, like, I obviously don't write for it anymore now because I don't have that much time. But I've saved all those articles, like, even though they're probably complete trash because I wrote them like 14 years ago.
mhm,
Um, that I was just writing goofy stuff. I was like, you just got to make the content, keep doing. That's how you keep going. That's how you improve. And yeah, and I mean the other thing is, yeah, like, to follow up on what Mario says, well, like, I guess be proactive in, like, networking and talking to people. Like, the way that I got into, I know my route is very different because I work as, like, a lawyer on for games industry people. But it's still about, like, it's quite a niche area of law, at least in the UK. There's not a lot of law firms that do this kind of stuff. And if you want to, talk to the right people, like, go to events, go to, like, sort of, like, we have this big event called EGX, Eurogamer Expo. Obviously now it's probably virtual, but they had a games industry careers fair and you would have loads of UK businesses in all different disciplines, you know, there to speak to. Like if you want to learn about art, animation, media, journalism, legal, um, marketing, like all that kind of stuff. And like just look out for those opportunities and try and get involved and be proactive on that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Very well said, both of you.
And I
Uh,
mean, I did a Pokemon podcast, and like one company, a certain company, hit me up to do a ranking of some Pokemon stuff. So yeah, work on your own stuff.
Thank you, Sam Woods.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everything you guys said was really well. Just like have a resume, just keep all your work, and just try your best.
And hopefully you get lucky. That's the thing.
Yeah.
There's a bit of luck.
Share your
in it.
stuff. Share your
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
So I guess from there we'll go off to like some of the final news this month. Very exciting
Okay.
news for a very specific group of people. PSVR
Talking of a Pokemon podcast, let's
PSVR
transition.
2 is real. PSVR
Ooh.
2 is real. How do you guys feel about that?
So I'm very excited because PlayStation VR in my household at least gets used quite a bit,
Mm.
especially when we've got guests around. It's like always blows their mind when you bring out the PlayStation VR. But I think the exciting thing about this sort of PlayStation VR thing is the fact that they've said that it's just gonna have one main wire. There's not gonna be a processing box and stuff like that. And I really hope with this VR, like it's gonna be similar to like more like PC like peripherals instead of like two wands, like having something like attaching to your hands, like.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm excited for PSVR, but I want to see more about it.
I
PSVR
think what's
2.
really interesting about it is like when they didn't announce PSVR 2, they're like, oh, you can still use the first one with your PS5, but you need your PlayStation 4 camera, and you needed to like have an extension for that.
You
Like
need an
now,
adapter as well.
people can
Yeah.
get rid of that and like just move on to this being the future.
hmm
Does
The other thing that's sorry, good.
no, I was gonna say, do you guys think this means that PlayStation is gonna commit more to VR experiences?
Well, they wouldn't make a VR 2 if they're not going to commit more.
But like,
Simple.
you remember the lineup they had for the PlayStation for the first PSVR?
Sure.
Are they gonna double down on like stuff like that, like make more games like that, or are they gonna like have a consistent lineup like that?
You'd hope so. I think they shut down their Manchester studio that was like making VR stuff. So
Yeah, I mean,
I,
yeah,
I just
the team
think
that was
like
making breaks, I think
Yeah.
they shut
yeah,
down.
I think that was PlayStation Manchester, but yeah,
Or
I
anything,
mean
Mario?
it is
Oh.
that thing like, are they going to be relying on third parties now, like that are going to PC and stuff like that? Are they going to try to
Mhm.
bring them in? Who knows?
Yeah,
You'd assume that the wire is either a Type C maybe or even a USB 3.
we don't
I
really know
can't-
much about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of what we'll be able to plug in the back of the thing that I've not seen already. So
Mhm.
I assume that it's something that might be even compatible with PC in aspects.
HDMI.
Yeah, and HDMI or whatever it ends. Well, again, there's no thing that I could think of that plugs in the back of that thing. But if it could plug into a computer and it could be like as accessible, I say, as those other two, then yeah, especially with the peripheral and stuff like that, then I think a lot of third parties will then end up showing its
I
way.
hadn't even considered that it being able to be used on other platforms.
Yeah,
That's
if it's
brilliant.
one wire, right? If it's
Yeah.
if it's a proprietary wire, then there's got to be something that plugs into it. And like I said, I don't see any additional hole that is special that I didn't see before. But if that's the case,
Those things can plug into your PC, so why can't this if it's just one wire?
well, I
Yeah.
mean, controllers plug into computers all the time, but
But
you know,
like, yeah,
but the last
uh,
VR headset didn't, right? It had a bunch of different dongles and outputs, and you needed some
Yeah.
other
Fucking
things.
just
processing
being one
box.
wire and being a peripheral.
Yeah,
I-
I'm curious
it
if this will even require even the camera. I'm hoping that it doesn't, because that would be even better.
Well, there is a camera for the PS5, so you would assume maybe.
It works, but I would just hope that maybe it's
Yeah.
necessary. In the same way that, okay, the way I'm basing that is the Quest. The Quest doesn't require anything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It just
you're right.
requires the headset and the wands, right? And if that's the case, then I'm hoping also, like you said, the wands are just as intuitive as those. And then we could have third-party games like
Like-
the Vader stuff, which I think is already out on PlayStation, if I'm not mistaken. But things like Half-Life, right? Half-Life Alyx could be the
Okay.
first place you could see it on a console could be PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say having no cameras would be interesting because you just put it on, calibrate, and then just go.
Yeah.
Plug it in, put it on, calibrate, go. Which is
Yeah.
very
Set up
simple.
your boundary. Set up your boundary like you do on Quest, and you're really good to go.
What are you gonna say, Rahul?
No, I was just gonna say generally, like the thing that I'm excited about is that Sony are supporting VR, and it's like they're a big player in this space, and it could have gone one of two ways. It could have been like, all right, we're gonna just let it die, and PSVR is gone, or we're gonna double down and bring out PSVR 2 and invest more money and marketing power into it. And I guess it's good for anyone who likes VR to see a big company like Sony still staying in the space. I think it's just a good thing in
Commitment.
general.
Yeah.
Like, like Oculus Quest is doing really well. Like everyone loves the wireless stuff. It's got a good price
Everyone
point
loves
as
logging into Facebook.
okay, well, okay, not that stuff, but like in terms of people who have used Oculus Quest are like, if you paid $300 for the headset, you get some good bang for your buck. It's a great system for that. And now Sony are also staying in the VR game, so it's not like a fad where VR is going to disappear after a few years, like maybe some other things might have. And I think it's just I'm excited for that. That
Yeah.
we are getting closer to that Ready Player One reality, maybe
Oh
one
god.
day. I
Sword Art
don't know.
Online. Whoa.
Cool. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's
If,
cool. Like I don't own any VR headsets. I've obviously played on a few of them at events and things.
Mhm.
But I'm kind of at that point where I was like, all right, let's see how this turns out. Maybe this will be the one that gets me to invest in it. They had their pilot with PSVR 1. Now they've probably found a way to fix and improve it, and you know see how
Right.
that.
if Fortnite had VR support, it's
Oh my god.
100% Ready Player One.
Oh man,
I think they
They don't.
do like they
There's
well
no
like
VR.
there's a bunch of like what's it VR chat where people play Fortnite in VR and they like have the widescreen thing.
No, sure.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's almost there.
But I mean,
Not
like,
really.
a
It's like
world game.
PlayStation Cinema, really. You can do that with like PlayStation games as well. Like you're not actually like playing it in 3D, but you're playing it like you're
Yeah.
viewing it on a virtual screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
have you
So it's like
have you
it's
guys
something, but it's not quite.
have you guys ever seen Among Us in VR?
No.
Oh,
I've
it's
not.
crazy. It's
There's
basically somebody made like Among Us in VR, which is like you are the character in the spaceship, and it's like this 3D world you're walking around, and like you could
yeah.
talk to people, you could like move the wires with your hands, you move the wires like that.
So you complete the
It's
tasks
very
with your actual hands, and then there is like you actually have to like kill like the other crewmates if you're the
and when
imposter by like
when you
it just
die, you go
adds like
to another ship.
level of
Rahul, you just hear someone going, "Why are you in? What?" The knife, like.
When you
I don't know
die,
what you're talking about.
when you die, they send you to another ship, and like you just watch on all the cameras and like stuff what's going on.
Oh,
It's just
Jerry,
really
you poor bastard! You have no idea what's coming. Oh, Jerry
but,
got killed.
but yeah, so
Sounds
it's
like
like
fun.
experiences like that would be so cool. Like I would love to own a
Yeah.
VR to be able to be involved with that kind of stuff.
I feel like PSVR 2 has a lot of promise. Uh,
Yeah, of course.
we can only wait to see what's to come.
Yeah, not coming out this year. They've said that already.
No, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And with that, I think it's a good place to end. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining me.
Been a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks, man. Great.
Where can people find you? Let's start with Camille, then go to Rahul, then Mario.
You can find me on the PokeRamble.com where I do a Pokemon podcast. We've just recently reacted to the recent Pokemon Presents announcements and some more like Pokemon 25th anniversary stuff. So you can check us out there, and also Simply Sassy Vids where we're making all sorts of content. I think the one thing I want to sort of like really plug is Game Sass, which is our like our little quiz show. That was a lot of fun. So check it out. We're going to be doing more of that in the future. So
Congrats.
thank you very much for having me.
So silly.
Sorry?
I like that a lot. Congrats. I liked it a lot.
Oh, thank you so much, man.
And
I
thanks for
appreciate
watching.
that.
Thanks for watching Patch Notes, Camille. By the way, you totally
Hey,
lost.
I made an advert for it. What I will say is I don't bullshit with people. I don't say I've seen this, I've seen that, I've
Yeah.
seen the other. Like if I haven't seen
No, I
it, I
respect
haven't
that.
seen
I
it.
respect that. Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
Rahul, where can people find you?
On Twitter at Rahulahoop with an underscore, and also on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rahulahoop with an underscore. Usually found at the moment playing Hitman 3 and Genshin Impact, but we'll hopefully be buying a PC soon and streaming some Monster Hunter Rise next
There you
month.
go. Very nice.
And that Mario Rivera, where can people find you?
You can find me at youtube.com/thatMarioRivera, twitch.tv/thatMarioRivera, Twitter/thatMarioRivera. But you can also find my new podcast at Point in Progress. Right now, we're still working on getting our URL. Apparently, we're still too early of a podcast to get a YouTube link, but we've hit our goal of 100 subscribers. So thank you so much for everyone that has done that.
I think you need a certain amount of hours of content.
You have to be alive for 30 days or something like that.
Oh,
I felt
okay,
like we've been
okay.
alive for 30 days, but it is what it is. Episode 3 is
You've been alive for way more than 30 days.
we've had the account since November. We've been thinking about this for a long time, so I don't know why.
We should have uploaded like a demo video then.
We did. I don't know. It was weird. I had like it doesn't matter. But yeah, so if you can find us there at YouTube, you can just type in Point in Progress. You'll be able to find us. Episode 3 is coming out at this time, so we're on our way of making content. So please enjoy our shows.
And of course, you can find me at Caesar Towers, basically everywhere. Twitter, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, and of course here on Patch Notes. And be sure to check in next time when we fill you in on your patch notes.